Welcome to Dashing Dish. The sun is shining and the weather's warm. I'm preparing some of my grilling favorites with a healthy spin with Sean in the kitchen today. Our grilling menu includes yummy cheesy burgers with a clean-eating homemade ranch dressing. Who doesn't love skewers? Why not try pesto shrimp grilled to perfection? Crispy, crunchy, packed with flavor, grilled potatoes. A perfect side to any dish. And for dessert, I'm grilling up easy and sweet apple packets. We're heating up the grill with everything from burgers to dessert. Coming up. All right, so we're kicking off the grilling season with cheddar ranch burgers, and this is one of my personal favorite things to cook up on a grill. We're gonna start with a ranch dressing that's homemade, and you can make this ranch dressing to go alongside of any of your grilling favorites. I have some fresh dill here that I'm just gonna chop up with some kitchen shears, and you could use dried dill as well, but the fresh dill is absolutely delicious, and it really brings out the ranch flavor. And I love to serve ranch alongside burgers, chicken, grilled veggies, so this is the perfect side. It goes wonderfully with these ranch burgers. Then I have my dry seasonings here. I have 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon onion powder, 2 tablespoons of dried parsley, 2 teaspoons of salt. And this seems like a lot of salt, but it makes quite a bit of ranch. And then 2 teaspoons of sweetener. Now this is optional, but it helps balance out that salty flavor, and most dressings actually do have sweetener in them. We just buy them from the store, so we don't know that, but it really does help balance out all the flavors. Then I'm gonna take some of this dry seasoning mixture and I'm gonna add it to our meat for the burgers before I turn it into a ranch. So I'm gonna take just about 2 tablespoons and sprinkle it into the burgers. Then I'm gonna add some Greek yogurt to this dry mixture. This is just 1 cup of Greek yogurt. And then I'm gonna start stirring it together. And whenever I'm making a ranch dressing, I love to use Greek yogurt because it's high in protein. So it is good for you, but it also adds a really creamy, rich flavor without adding mayonnaise or buttermilk. And then if you feel like you need just a little bit of almond milk or milk of choice to just kind of thin it out, you can just do that kind of to taste. You can eyeball it. So I added about 1 teaspoon. And that'll just make it a little bit thinner. So that's kind of, ooh. That was splattered in the hair. The best hair mask around, ranch dressing. Okay, so we have 1 pound of ground chicken, but you could use any kind of meat for this. And I'm going to add to it just about 2 green onions, not even quite that much. This is really just to taste, and you could even leave it out if you want to, or you could add any kind of onions that you like. And we already have some of that dill and that dry ranch seasoning in there. And then I'm gonna do a 1/2 cup of cheddar cheese. And then just stir this to combine. And I think a lot of people think, especially in the winter or the cold months, that grilling is not really an option. But the great thing is that as long as you have a grill pan, you can do any of your favorite grilling recipes right inside. You can even cook a lot of the recipes that you see that are used on a grill right in your oven. But today we're using an indoor grill pan, and I'm gonna show you guys just how easy and convenient it is to take any of your grilled favorites and cook them indoors. So these look delicious, and I'm gonna make these into about 4 even-sized patties. And they have all the seasoning and flavors from that ranch seasoning mix. So they will be bursting with flavor. And I think a lot of times when it comes to leaner meats that you're gonna make into a burger, people are thinking, well, it's gonna be dry and not much flavor. But these burgers have a ton of flavor thanks to that ranch dressing and of course, cheddar cheese. And so whenever I make burgers, I like to set a timer, especially if I'm grilling outdoors, because it's really easy to kind of forget about them. And whenever it comes to cooking any kind of meat, you want to make sure that you're cooking it to the right temperature. Otherwise, you can have raw meat, which isn't good, or overly cooked meat. So with chicken, burgers, or any type of burger, you want to gauge it based on what type of meat it is. For chicken, you definitely want to cook it on the longer side. So I'd say anywhere from 6 to 8 minutes per side of the burger. And for beef, go a little bit less than that. So I'd say anywhere from 4 to 6 minutes, depending on how you like your beef cooked. So I'm gonna cook these up about 6 to 8 minutes on each side until they're cooked completely through. I like to serve them on a lettuce wrap, but you could do a bun or however you like to serve your burgers, and they'll be delicious with the ranch dressing. Coming up next, I'm gonna make a delicious shrimp recipe on kebabs. You don't wanna miss it. Okay, so I have my husband with me, the grill master. And Sean, would you call yourself a grill master?
I don't know.
What do you think about grilling?
I like grilling. I wouldn't say I'm a master. I know people who watch a lot of YouTube and do all kinds of tricks and techniques. I'm not that way, but I'm okay.
In our family, you're considered the grill master.
Okay. I mean, I'll take that as
Brett's
an
got
honor.
his smoker, and
he's the
Sean
smoker.
does the grilling.
Yeah.
And my dad used to do it, but I don't know how.
Ever since he got son-in-laws,
It's
he's
true.
like, you guys can do it.
He's on the couch, you know,
Yeah.
and the son-in-laws do it. So I like how you grill. I think you do a good job.
Thank
Today
you.
we're gonna make shrimp pesto. Now, pesto is one of those sauces that you probably think, there's no way I'm making that at home. It's way too complicated. But actually, it's really simple, just a few ingredients, and you can make it healthier than the store-bought kind if you make it at home. So we have 2 cups of spinach here that I'm gonna add to a food processor, or you could use your blender if you have a high-power blender.
I thought those were just called leaves.
The leaves of some sort. And then we have some basil. Sean, you can just cut the ends off the basil, or you can even just kind of twist it and pull it off. So I have about 4 stems or so of basil. You can't go wrong with how much basil you add, because that's really where all the flavor comes with the pesto. And you really don't want dried basil for this recipe. Use fresh, because it really does make all the difference in fresh pesto.
Yeah, you can smell it.
Yeah, it smells good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'll have you cut that lemon.
Okay, straight down the
So
middle?
a fresh lemon, yep, and you can just squeeze it into the food processor when you're done.
I'm sure everybody's judging my knifing skills.
Then we have 2 teaspoons of salt, or just about as much as you want to do. I'm gonna start with just a little bit and then add more later on, because you can always add more. You don't want to go too heavy on any seasoning if you're doing it to taste to start. Go ahead and squeeze the lemon juice into here.
I've never done this. You just squeeze it?
Yep, so just squeeze it, and if you're worried about the seeds, you can always squeeze it upside down so the seeds stay in the rind. That looks good. And then I did a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese.
Just one half?
You can do both.
Oh.
And you could do half, depending on taste. 2 tablespoons of pine nuts, or any nuts that you have on hand. So if you have almonds or if you have walnuts, 2 tablespoons of nuts is going to work great. And then 1 tablespoon of fresh garlic. And I'm telling you, once you make this at home, you will never buy pesto again. Sean, you can go ahead and measure out a 1/4 cup of avocado oil.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're gonna shut the lid on there. We're gonna kind of pulse it until it gets to the consistency that we like. Okay, so now we have 1 pound of shrimp, and I got it with the tails on, just deveined. And it's actually frozen shrimp, but you could use fresh shrimp. I like buying frozen because then you can make it whenever you're ready, and it's good in your freezer. So I just thawed it in the fridge overnight. If you want to do a quick thawing, you can just rinse it under cold water. So we have the shrimp here, and we're gonna add the pesto straight to the bowl with the shrimp. Sean, can you kind of scoop this into there?
Yep.
And I'll give you a spoon too.
Okay. I have to say, this is my first time ever doing a recipe or seeing a recipe done with shrimp, so.
Yeah, and you know, I think shrimp is Something that people don't think of when you think of grilling. You usually think of burgers, chicken, steak.
Hot dogs.
But the great thing about shrimp is it's cooked in just a few minutes. So then go ahead and stir the shrimp with the pesto, just like that. You can go ahead and kind of coat all the shrimp in the pesto there. And then we got some kebabs. And this is a tradition in our family. We love to do things on kebabs. We do chicken, veggies, steak, anything you can think of. This is our first time doing shrimp on kebabs, but it's wonderful because then everybody kind of has their own kebab or two that they can grab from the plate and enjoy with some sides. So we have some metal kebabs here. If you use wood kebabs, you want to make sure and soak them ahead of time so that they don't burn for at least a few hours. And then you can just take the shrimp and kind of just thread it onto the kebab like that.
Okay.
Go ahead. Start doing it with me. There's no right or wrong way to do it. The tail is going to be a little bit harder, so just go through kind of the body of the shrimp like that. And if you wanted to save some of the pesto before you mixed it with the shrimp, you could do so, and you can even marinate the shrimp for a little bit. I'd say up to 20 minutes before grilling it, if you wanted to make it even more flavorful. So then I'm gonna take one of the kebabs and just kind of place it on the grill just like that. Now, Sean, every time I grill, that's perfect. Go ahead and lay it down. Every time I grill, I think about how God's fire refines us. I know it's like super spiritual, but that's where my mind always goes. I just think about how God just refines us through life. And I would love if you shared just a little bit of your testimony maybe, and how you feel that God really kind of just changed your heart.
I remember specifically someone asking me to youth group, and you know, I had no idea what to expect. I was kind of going for her in a sense, because I liked her and I wanted to, you know, get to know her more, and I thought this was an opportunity to probably do something like dodgeball or you know, a youth group night type thing. And lo and behold, the pastor, Pastor PD, which I thought, funny enough, for the longest time his name was actually Petey, but it's Pastor Darren, that's why it was PD. But he gave an altar call, and I felt like my heart was on fire. I couldn't ignore that prompting, and I raised my hand to receive salvation, and he came over and prayed with me, and it was the best decision I ever made. So it was a really different, I saw the night going way differently, and it was one of the best nights of my life, so.
Yeah, and that was just really the start of your journey with the Lord. And you know, I think what's so amazing is that we never stop really growing and changing. And even when you think that, you know, okay, I've given my life to the Lord, you know, that's the biggest step, and you know, is that all there is? There's so much that God teaches us and grows us up in our journey with Him. And I believe we never stop really learning and growing. And I've seen that happen with you in our marriage, and even in our dating years, of how God really refined you and myself, and He continues to. And it's pretty amazing how He softens our heart and how He melts all of the hard spots off, so to speak, with His love. So it's been a really neat journey to walk that out from such a young age with you.
Yeah, I think your family had a really big part in that too, because your family took me in. I mean, they bought me my first Bible. They gave me my first Christian album, you know, and I was like, this actually sounds pretty cool. You know, I grew up singing some of the older hymns, so it was kind of neat to see this, you know, kind of evolve in what your parents taught me a lot too. So
it's true.
Yeah.
So these are looking great. They're pink on each side, which only took about 2 to 4 minutes, and that's how you know that they're ready to eat. And we'll be back with a delicious side to go with them. Coming up next, what about the side? How about crispy, crunchy, cheesy, garlicky, grilled potatoes to pair perfectly with any main dish? One of the most common questions I get asked when it comes to grilling is, what do I serve alongside this? And there are so many great things that you can put right on the grill as a side dish to make with your meat or your main dish. This is one of my absolute favorites. It's grilled garlic Parmesan potatoes. Let me show you how I made them. First, I put the cut potatoes in a bowl and drizzle them with avocado oil and sprinkle them with salt, garlic powder, parsley, and Parmesan cheese, tossing until the potatoes are well coated. Next, I laid a sheet of foil on the counter and sprayed it with cooking spray. I put the potatoes on the foil and sealed the edges. Then, I topped the potatoes with an additional piece of foil, sealing the edges to make a packet. All that's left to do is to grill the potatoes for 15 to 20 minutes and let them settle until they're ready to open the packet and serve. Beware of marinating foods too long. Marinades typically contain an acidic ingredient, which can make the meat tough. When marinating thicker cuts of meat, such as chicken breast or pork tenderloin, aim for no more than 2 hours, and for more tender cuts, such as fish, no more than 20 minutes. When it comes to grilling, one of my favorite things to do with meat is to put a dry rub on a little bit before grilling it and allowing that seasoning and all of those flavors soak into the meat. And one of my favorite dry rubs is just a few simple spices that I have here. I have garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, salt, and a little bit of sweetener. And again, this is just a dry rub, so you just need dry seasonings. So to the bowl, I'm gonna add a half teaspoon of garlic powder, half teaspoon of onion powder, 1 tablespoon of paprika, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So I always say when it comes to meat, do about 1 to 1.5 teaspoons of salt per pound of meat. And then just 2 tablespoons of sweetener. And then you could just put a lid on a mason jar and shake it up or stir it up. And then you can just put this on to any cut of meat for about a half hour to an hour before grilling. It'll soak in, tenderize the meat, and give it absolutely delicious flavor. Have you ever felt like you're going from one hard season of life to the next? Let me say that I totally understand. Sometimes there's times in life when I feel like I'm just getting over one problem only to see another arising. And although I know that God doesn't cause hardships in our life, I know that He can use them to refine us. In fact, I did a little research on the refinement of metals, and this is what I found. It said that refinement happens as a method of purifying precious metals with intense heat. Impurities rise to the top where they can be removed, and a refiner knows the purification is complete when they can see the reflection in the metal. In the same way, when we're going through a really hard time of life, if we allow God to shape our heart, our attitude, and our character, He removes the impurity at the top, and we are able to reflect His image. Coming up next, I love grilling weather, and we are almost set. But what about dessert? Why not try these easy, sweet and yummy grilled fruit packets to round out the meal? Can you grill meat and all the sides on your grill, but you can make dessert too. We're gonna make cinnamon maple grilled apples with vanilla ice cream, of course.
Delicious.
You have to top it with vanilla ice cream though.
Yes.
That's what really makes it special. So I'm gonna take 3 apples, and you could do this with pears as well, and grilled pears would be just as delicious. But we have some Honeycrisp apples, any kind of apples will do. And I'm just gonna cut them into slices. And we have 1 piece of foil that's sprayed with cooking spray, and I'm gonna lay them directly onto the foil. Now, Sean, I heard you have some grilling questions for me.
Yes.
All right, ask away.
Okay. We got some of these questions from the website, and the first one is, my grill is still coated with the remnants of last summer's cookout. How would you recommend I clean it?
So I personally find that it's really easy to just heat up the grill first. And once it's really hot, you can take either a grill brush or some tongs with some foil. So just a bundled up piece of foil and scrape it along the grates. Just make sure that your grates are really hot and then it'll come off really easily.
The second question is, how do I prevent food from sticking on the grill?
So I like to soak an onion or potato in a little bit of oil and then you just rub it on the grates, and it's much safer than spraying cooking spray on a grill because I've done that before, and if you're not careful, you will end up with some serious combustion. So
You might lose an eyebrow.
I find it's easier to just take a potato or something that you're gonna grill anyway and just rub it on the grates.
That's a good answer. Third question is, how do I make things a bit out of the norm, like pizza on a grill? That's
So
interesting.
if you have a pizza stone or you have any kind of stone or even grill pan that you can put on your grill, you can pretty much grill almost anything that you could cook in the oven. So again, just like I mentioned earlier, if you think about a grill that's really just a hot oven, about 450 degrees, just crank up your oven, and if you have convection cook, then it just swirls the heat around just like a grill, and you can cook it inside a grill or an oven.
Okay, and last question is, how can I tell when the food is done?
I recommend a cooking thermometer or a meat thermometer. That way it prevents you from cutting into things and checking and prodding and poking, and then things end up either getting hacked into or overcooked or undercooked. And so it's just better to have a meat thermometer that you can just stick in the thickest part of the meat and check. And if you're not sure the temperature, you can always Google it. It's right there on Google. Should I say Google? And if you're not sure what temperature to go to, you can always just do a quick search on your phone. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish off these apples with you, Sean.
Okay. All right.
We're gonna make like a little packet, and all I did was cut them about the same size. So as long as they're about the same size, it's good because then they'll cook evenly. So I have a 1/4 cup of maple syrup here, or you could do honey. And then 2 tablespoons, so just about half of that, you can just shake it on, of sweetener of choice. That's good. And then a 1/4 teaspoon, a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of ginger. Yep, go
Just
ahead.
all
And
over?
yep, you can't go wrong. I mean, cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, any of the flavors or spices that you put on apple pie is delicious in this.
That smells
so 1/4
so
teaspoon of ginger.
Okay.
And since we're not doing outdoor grilling today, we're gonna actually cook this in the oven using convection cook. So we're gonna do 450 degrees, and we're gonna just put it right on the rack, or you could do it on a baking tray if you feel a little bit safer doing that. So we're gonna put this in the oven, 450 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes. And when they get nice and soft and golden brown and the syrup melts into it, that's when you know they're ready, and they're perfect served at the end of your dinner alongside whatever you're grilling for that night. Well, Sean, I think we did a pretty good job today on the grill. We made some burgers, All right, well, I think we did a pretty good job today. What do you think?
I think we did great.
We made some burgers, shrimp, side dish, and dessert all on the grill, and you can make this indoor or outdoor any time of the year. I love grilled food. What about you?
It's my favorite. There's nothing
So you're
better.
gonna try the dessert, the grilled
Okay.
apples, and I think that this tastes pretty similar to apple pie, and you'll never believe how delicious it is coming straight off the grill with some vanilla ice cream. Is that good?
So good, yeah.
If you want to find more grilling recipes, you can head over to dashingdish.com, where you'll find recipes and more to nourish your body and soul.